She hired a PI to follow me, found nothing. Then I hired one to follow her and found everything. Hey viewers, before we move on to the video, please make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button if you want to see more stories like this. Thanks. I found the report in her nightstand drawer. I wasn't snooping. I was looking for the insurance card she'd asked me to grab. Instead, I found 3 months of my life documented by a stranger. Subject departs residence 9:15 a.m. Arrives Marcelo's restaurant 9:47 a.m. Remains on premises until 11:32 p.m. No suspicious activity observed. Day after day, the same routine. My entire life reduced to a private investigator's notes, proving what I'd been telling Patricia for months. I wasn't cheating. I was working. I was building our future. I was being exactly who I'd always been. The invoice was paperclipped to the back. $4,800. She'd spent nearly $5,000 trying to catch me doing something I'd never even considered. I sat on the edge of our bed, my bed now, really, since she'd banished me to the guest room 2 months ago, and felt something crack inside my chest. Not my heart breaking. Something else. The foundation of trust that I'd been standing on, trying to save a marriage that was already dead. We'd been together 6 years. Married for 4. I'm a chef, headline cook at Marcelo's, an upscale Italian place downtown. Patricia worked in marketing for a tech startup. We met at a food festival where I was doing a cooking demo. She'd said she loved watching me work, loved my passion for food, loved how focused I became when I was creating something. Apparently, that focus had become suspicious. It started about 14 months ago. Small things at first. She'd check my phone while I was in the shower. Show up at the restaurant unannounced during dinner service, claiming she just wanted to surprise me. She'd interrogate Vanessa, our hostess, asking if I'd been friendly with any female customers. I tried to be patient. I suggested couples therapy. Therapy is for people with problems, she'd said. You're the problem. If you'd just be honest about what you're doing, we wouldn't need therapy. But I wasn't doing anything. That was the insanity of it. I worked 60-hour weeks because I was trying to make head chef. I went to the gym 3 mornings a week. I came home. I loved my wife. Or I had loved her. Past tense. Because sitting there with that PI report in my hands, I realized something had shifted. When Patricia came home that evening, I was waiting at the kitchen table. The report was in front of me. She froze in the doorway, still holding her purse. You went through my things. You went through my entire life? I said, tapping the report. For 3 months. With a professional. She set her purse down slowly. I had to know. Know what, Patricia? The investigator found nothing. Because there's nothing to find. That's what makes it worse. Her voice cracked with something that sounded almost like anguish. You're too perfect. Too clean. No one is this devoted. This, faithful. It's suspicious. I stared at her. You think being a good husband is suspicious? I think you're better at hiding it than I thought. She crossed her arms. Real people make mistakes. Real people have secrets. You're like this robot who goes to work and comes home and never looks at another woman, and it's not natural. What would convince you? I asked. What evidence would possibly prove I'm not cheating? She looked at me for a long moment. Nothing. Because I know the truth even if I can't prove it yet. That's when I saw it. Really saw it. The new perfume she'd been wearing. The way she'd started dressing differently. More attention to her appearance on work days. The secretive phone calls she took in the bathroom. The late nights at the office that had become routine right around the time her accusation started. She was projecting. I felt cold. When did it start? When did what start? Your affair. Her face went white, then red. How dare you accuse me? You hired a PI to follow me because you assume everyone lies like you do, I said quietly. You're so convinced I'm cheating because you are. Get out. Her voice shook. Get out of this house right now. I stood up. I'll pack a bag. But Patricia, we're done. I'm filing for divorce. On what grounds? Your paranoid delusions. I'll let my lawyer handle it. I stayed at Marco's place that night. He was the head chef at Marcelo's, had been mentoring me for 3 years. When I told him everything, he just shook his head. Man, I'm sorry. But if she's accusing you, she's probably guilty. That's Psychology 101. I need to know for sure, I said. I need proof. Marco raised an eyebrow. You thinking what I think you're thinking? She spent $5,000 following me. I can spend 1 month following her. The PI's name was Linda Chun, no relation to Patricia's family, thankfully. She was in her 50s, professional, with kind eyes that had seen too much human ugliness. I need surveillance on my wife, I told her in her modest office. I think she's having an affair. Linda listened as I explained everything. The accusations, the paranoia, the projection. She didn't judge. 1 month, she said. That's usually enough time to establish a pattern if there is one. And if there isn't, you'll have peace of mind. I nodded. I already know there is one. I just need proof for the divorce. Those 3 weeks were the longest of my life. I moved my stuff out of the house officially, found a small apartment near the restaurant. Patricia didn't fight it, seemed relieved, actually. I threw myself into work, picking up extra shifts, perfecting recipes for the head chef position I'd been chasing. Patricia texted me a few times. Cold messages. We need to talk about the mortgage. Your mail is piling up. Never I miss you. Never I'm sorry. On a Thursday morning, Linda called. Can you come to my office today? I knew from her tone. She'd found something. The photos were spread across her desk like evidence at a crime scene. Patricia and a man I didn't recognize. Outside an Italian restaurant in the Arts District. Walking into a hotel. Sitting in his car in a parking garage, her hand on his face. His name is Dr. Richard Harrison, Linda said. Age 43. Licensed therapist. Has a practice downtown. My stomach dropped. Her therapist? Linda nodded grimly. She's been seeing him professionally for about 18 months. The affair appears to have started approximately 13 months ago, based on the pattern of meetings. They meet 2 to 3 times per week. Sometimes at hotels. Sometimes at his home when his wife is away. His wife. I felt numb. He's married. 2 kids. Linda slid another photo across. This was taken yesterday afternoon. According to her work calendar, which I accessed through public LinkedIn posts, she was supposed to be in a client meeting. Instead, she was in a hotel room with her therapist. I sat there, staring at the evidence of my wife's betrayal, and felt nothing. No rage. No heartbreak. Just a vast, empty relief that I wasn't crazy. I need copies of everything, I said. For my lawyer. And Linda? I need one more thing. The name of the licensing board for therapists in this state. She smiled slightly. I'll email you the information. I didn't call Patricia. I went home, to our house, my house, the one I'd been paying the mortgage on for 4 years, and laid the photos out on the kitchen table. Then I waited. She came home at 8, later than usual. She was laughing on the phone when she walked in, didn't notice me sitting there until she ended the call. Javier? What are you? Then she saw the photos. Her face drained of color. I didn't move, just watched her process what she was seeing. His name is Dr. Richard Harrison, I said calmly. Your therapist. You've been sleeping with him for 13 months. You had me followed? Her voice rose to a shriek. You invaded my privacy, You had me followed for 3 months. I interrupted. I did it for 3 weeks. That's the difference. Yours found nothing. Mine found everything. She grabbed the edge of the table. It's not what it looks like. It looks like you've been sleeping with your married therapist while accusing me of the infidelity you were committing. I stood up. It looks like you projected your guilt onto me for over a year. It looks like you gaslit me, made me feel crazy, when you were the one lying every single day. You drove me to this. Tears started streaming down her face. You're never home. You don't pay attention to me. I needed someone who saw me. I worked 60-hour weeks to build our future, I said. To make head chef so we could buy a bigger house, start a family, have the life you said you wanted. And you thanked me by sleeping with your therapist and trying to catch me doing what you were doing. It just happened, she sobbed. He understood me. He listened. He's a predator who took advantage of a patient. And I'm reporting him to the licensing board tomorrow. I picked up my jacket. I already filed for divorce this morning. You'll be served next week. My lawyer suggests you get one too. Javier, please, she reached for me. I stepped back. Don't. We're done, Patricia. You killed this marriage. You destroyed 6 years. And you did it while blaming me for your crimes. I can't forgive that. I won't. Where will I go? Not my problem anymore. I headed for the door. My lawyer will be in touch about dividing assets. Don't contact me unless it's through legal representation. You can't just leave. I turned back one last time. Yes, I can. That's the difference between us. When I make a commitment, I keep it. When you make one, you break it. We're not the same, Patricia. We never were. The next morning, I submitted a formal complaint to the State Board of Psychology. The evidence was damning. Photos, dates, times, all corroborating an ongoing sexual relationship between Dr. Harrison and his patient. It was an automatic ethics violation, grounds for license revocation. The divorce moved forward. Patricia's lawyer tried to negotiate, claiming she'd been experiencing a mental health crisis and wasn't in her right mind. My lawyer shut that down with the timeline. She'd been lucid enough to hire a PI, accuse me for months, and maintain a coordinated affair. The discovery process was brutal for Patricia. Everything came out. The affair details. The money she'd spent from our joint account on hotels and gifts for Harrison. The lies to her employer about client meetings that were actually hookups. 2 weeks after I filed the complaint, Dr. Harrison was notified of the investigation. Within days, he cut off all contact with Patricia. She called me, hysterical. "Richard won't talk to me. He blocked my number." "What did you do?" "I reported him for having sex with his patient," I said coldly. "What he should have been reported for a year ago." "You ruined his life." "He ruined his own life. And his wife's. And his kids. And mine. I just made sure there were consequences." I paused. "Don't call me again, Patricia. We have nothing to discuss." She kept calling. I blocked her number. The karma cascade was swift and merciless. Harrison's wife found out about the investigation. These things aren't entirely private in professional communities. She filed for divorce immediately. Patricia's name was in the board complaint, in public documents. The local psychology community, small and interconnected, became aware. 2 months later, the board revoked Harrison's license. Sexual relationships with current patients were grounds for permanent revocation. His practice collapsed. His marriage ended. His professional reputation was destroyed. He blamed Patricia publicly, told colleagues she'd been unhinged, and pursued him inappropriately. Whether that was true or deflection didn't matter. The damage was done. Patricia was labeled a homewrecker, a predator's victim, or accomplice, depending on who was telling the story. Meanwhile, my life began to rebuild. I made head chef at Marcello's. The promotion came with a significant raise and creative control over the menu. I threw myself into work, developing new dishes, mentoring younger cooks the way Marco had mentored me. The divorce settlement was straightforward. I kept the house. I'd paid the down payment and mortgage solo anyway. She took her car and half of our small savings. No alimony since we'd both been working and the marriage was short enough. Patricia's parents called me to apologize. Her father actually cried. "We always liked you, Javier. You were good to her. We don't understand what happened." "Neither do I, Mr. Chun. But I appreciate you saying that. If you need anything, references, help with the house, you call us, okay?" They'd cut Patricia off financially. She'd been receiving monthly help from them for years, supplementing her income. That dried up when they learned what she'd done. For months after I moved out, I heard through mutual friends that Patricia had been fired from her marketing job. Too much personal drama bleeding into work, apparently. There'd been an incident where she'd broken down crying in a client meeting. She found work through a temp agency, moved from our spacious house to a studio apartment across town. Most of our friends quietly took sides, mine. The evidence was too clear, the betrayal too calculated. She tried to reach out. Texts that I deleted without reading. Emails that went to spam. A letter delivered to Marcello's that Marco intercepted and handed to me with a concerned look. "You want to read this?" "No. Throw it away." "You got it, chef." 6 months after the divorce was filed, I had dinner with some investors interested in backing a restaurant concept I'd been developing. A small place, intimate, focused on seasonal ingredients and elevated comfort food. I'd been saving money aggressively, rebuilding my life with intention. They loved the pitch. By the end of the night, I had commitments for 2/3 of the capital I needed. I was going to open my own restaurant. 8 months after I found that PI report, Patricia's mother called. "Javier, I know you asked not to be contacted, but, Mrs. Chun, I've moved on. I'm sorry, but Patricia is really struggling. She lost her job. Her apartment is barely livable. She's isolated. I'm sorry to hear that." I kept my voice neutral. But those are consequences of her choices. She made a mistake. With respect, she didn't make a mistake. She made choices. Every day for over a year. She chose to lie to me. She chose to sleep with her therapist. She chose to accuse me of her own sins. Those weren't mistakes. They were decisions. Mrs. Chun was quiet for a moment. You always were kind to her. Exactly. And she threw it away. I hope she finds peace, but I can't help her find it. I'm focused on my own life now. She talks about you constantly. Says she made the worst mistake of her life. Then she should learn from it. But not with me. Please don't call again, Mrs. Chun. I mean that respectfully, but I need you to respect my boundaries. She sighed. I understand. Good luck with everything, Javier. You deserved better. Thank you. So did your daughter. She just couldn't see it. 10 months after everything fell apart, my restaurant was days from opening. We'd secured a perfect location in a revitalized neighborhood, built out a beautiful space with exposed brick and warm lighting, hired a small but talented staff. I'd named it Solace. Marco was my silent partner and advisor. Vanessa from Marcello's came on as general manager. I was cooking again, really cooking, not just executing someone else's vision. I was happy. Then Patricia showed up at Marcello's during a Saturday dinner service. Vanessa found me in the kitchen. Javier, I'm sorry, but Patricia is here. In the dining room. She's asking for you. I wiped my hands on my apron. Tell her I'm busy and she needs to leave. I did. She's refusing. Says she'll wait all night. Marco looked up from his station. Want me to handle it? No. I'll deal with it. I untied my apron. This ends tonight. She was sitting at the bar, nursing a glass of wine she clearly couldn't afford. She'd lost weight. Dark circles under her eyes. Her clothes were clean but worn, not the designer pieces she used to favor. Patricia. I stayed standing, kept my distance. You need to leave. Javier, please. Her voice cracked. Just 5 minutes. That's all I'm asking. I'm in the middle of dinner service. I don't have 5 minutes. I've changed. I'm not that person anymore. Tears started falling. I was sick. I was in a dark place. I'm in therapy now, real therapy, working on myself. I'm glad you're getting help. I kept my tone neutral, professional. That's important. But it doesn't change anything between us. We spent 6 years together. Her voice rose. Customers were starting to stare. You can't just erase that, you did that. Not me. I gestured toward the door. You need to go. Now. I still love you. She was crying openly now, mascara running down her face. I know I don't deserve another chance, but I'm begging you. Marco. I didn't take my eyes off Patricia. Marco appeared at my shoulder immediately. Please help Miss Chin to her car. No, wait. Javier, please. She grabbed my arm. I pulled back. Patricia, you're making a scene. In my workplace. In front of customers. This is harassment. I kept my voice low but firm. You need to leave, or I will call the police. You can't do this to me. She was borderline hysterical now. After everything we had, after everything you destroyed, I corrected. Marco, please. Marco gently but firmly guided her toward the exit. She resisted, still crying, still calling my name. Vanessa held the door open. The entire restaurant was watching. When she was finally outside, I turned to the dining room. I apologized for the disturbance. Your meals tonight are on the house. There was a smattering of applause. Someone called out, "Good for you, chef." I went back to the kitchen and finished the service. My hands were shaking slightly, but I didn't let it affect my work. That night, I blocked her on every remaining platform, changed my phone number, installed a security camera at my apartment. She sent letters. I returned them unopened. She sent gifts to my apartment, found my address somehow. I refused delivery. She was trying to rewrite history, to make herself the victim of her own choices. I wasn't participating. The divorce was finalized 11 months after I found that PI report. We met at the courthouse for the final hearing, a formality to sign the last documents. Patricia arrived looking defeated. Cheaper clothes. Hair pulled back in a simple ponytail. She'd aged years in less than one. I arrived in a tailored suit, confident, accompanied by my lawyer. I'd been working out consistently, eating well, sleeping better than I had in years. I looked good and I knew it. We waited in the hallway outside the courtroom. I was checking emails on my phone, details about Solace's opening night, when she approached. Javier. Her voice was small. You look good. Really good. I glanced up. Patricia. I've been working on myself. New therapist, medication, reflecting on everything I did wrong. That's good. I returned to my phone. Everyone should work on themselves. The person who did those things, that wasn't really me. I looked at her fully then. That was you, Patricia. The real you under pressure. The you that made choices every day for over a year. You don't get to distance yourself from that. Tears welled in her eyes. Can we talk? After this? Just coffee? I need closure. We spent 6 years together. We spent 6 years together. I agreed. And you spent one of those years lying to my face while sleeping with your therapist and accusing me of your sins. Our lawyers can communicate if needed. I have nothing to say to you. I still love you. Her voice broke. I know I don't deserve. You don't love me. I cut her off. Not unkindly, just stating fact. You love the stability I provided. The good guy who forgave your moods and supported your career. That person doesn't exist anymore. You killed him when you betrayed him. Please, Javier. I'm drowning. I lost everything. And I'm sorry you're struggling. I genuinely am. I held her gaze. But I can't be your life raft. I'm not responsible for saving you from yourself. I barely saved myself from you. My lawyer appeared in the doorway. They're ready for us. The hearing took 15 minutes. The judge reviewed the settlement, confirmed we both agreed to terms, signed the decree. It was done. Outside the courthouse, Patricia tried one more time. Javier, wait. I kept walking to my car. Javier, please. I didn't turn around. Got in my car. Drove away. In my rearview mirror, I saw her standing on the courthouse steps, alone. I felt nothing. 2 weeks later, Solace had its opening night. The dining room was packed. Friends, family, investors, food critics, people who'd heard the buzz and wanted to experience it firsthand. My parents flew in from Arizona. They were so proud they kept tearing up. Marco was there with his wife, beaming like he'd opened the place himself. Vanessa ran the front of house like a general commanding troops. I was in the kitchen, in my element, creating. During a brief lull, I stepped outside the back door for air. The night was cool, clear. I could hear laughter and conversation drifting from the dining room. My phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, then figured it might be a vendor. Hello. Solace Restaurant. How can I help you? Vanessa's voice. Why are you? Patricia called the main line asking to speak to you. I wanted to intercept. Vanessa sounded apologetic. I told her you weren't available and she's not welcome to call again. Thank you, Vanessa. She asked if she could make a reservation. For tomorrow. What did you say? I told her we're fully booked for the next 2 months. Vanessa paused. Then I put a note in our system. Patricia Chun, do not accept reservations. Was that okay? I smiled. That was perfect. Thank you for protecting the space. Always, chef. I hung up and looked at the stars. Somewhere out there, Patricia was trying to insert herself back into my life, unable to accept that she was no longer part of it. But I was here, in my own restaurant, surrounded by people who supported me, creating food that made people happy, building something real and good and entirely mine. She'd tried to destroy me with her accusations, her paranoia, her betrayal. Instead, she'd freed me to become someone stronger. I went back inside. There was a ticket up, 2 appetizers, one with a modification. I got to work. A food critic from the city's major paper was in the dining room. She'd ordered the seasonal risotto, my signature dish. When her plate came back empty, Vanessa brought me the comment card she'd filled out. Transcendent. Chef Morales is a talent to watch. The review would run in Sunday's paper. It would be glowing. It would establish Solace as a destination. I'd made it. Despite everything. Because of everything. That night, after the last customer left and the kitchen was clean, I sat at the bar with Marco and Vanessa, sharing a bottle of wine. To new beginnings, Marco raised his glass. To choosing yourself, Vanessa added. I clinked glasses with them both. To being free. My phone buzzed. Another unknown number. I silenced it without looking. Patricia could call 1,000 times. It wouldn't change anything. I'd moved on. Completely. She was a closed chapter in a book I'd finished reading. And I was writing a new story entirely. One where I was the hero. Where I chose my own happiness. Where I built something beautiful from the ashes of what she'd burned down. She'd hired a PI to catch me in a lie that didn't exist. I'd hired one to uncover the truth she'd been hiding. We'd both found exactly what we were looking for. The difference was, I'd used that truth to set myself free. And she was still trapped in the prison of her own making, banging on the bars, begging to be let back into a life that no longer had room for her. I finished my wine, said goodnight to my friends, and drove home to my apartment. Tomorrow, Solace would open for lunch service. We had a full book of reservations. A waiting list 2 weeks deep. Tomorrow, I'd create something beautiful. Tonight, I'd sleep soundly for the first time in 2 years. Because I finally understood, the investigation was never about finding evidence of betrayal. It was about finding the evidence I needed to save myself. And I had. Mission accomplished. Thanks for watching. Make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit the like button. What do you think about this story? Share it in the comments.